What's good with the YouTube? You already know Big Flocka with a convict's perspective, and I'm smashing, dashing, sliding on through with a little bit of energy, man. Everybody hit the like, subscribe, comment, man. Bell notifications to get some fire ass content, man. And I got one, man. Something that's really not too much in the news. It's not really being discussed, man. I'm gonna read a really good article, man. It's on the Borderland beat, and it's about two alleged Mexican Mafia members that were currently arrested, man. And I'm going to go off just what this article says and give it a little bit of elaborative feedback and go from there, man. A call was placed to authorities around 6 p.m. of armed men aboard a truck in Playas de Rosarito, Tijuana, BC. Municipal police officers arrested 10 men, seized multiple weapons and marijuana. But the most intriguing part of this bust was that police captured two high-level members of the California-based prison gang, the Mexican Mafia. Other men have been labeled as sureños, part of gangs based in Southern California that operate under the Mexican Mafia. Man, got some interesting pictures. Among those arrested were La M members known as El Evil and El Bullet, the leaders of the local cell in Mexico. El Evil has been wanted in the U.S. by federal authorities for over 10 years. The detainees, Jose Fernando, Bullet, Gerardo, Henry, Eric, Randy, Fernando, Luis Alfredo, Alberto, and Julio and Armando. Bunch of people. The men had in their possession 7 pistols, including an FN 5.7 millimeter police killer pistol, and 2 rifles, a short AR-15 variant in .223 caliber, and a 7.62 millimeter AK-47 type Draco rifle, as well as ammunition. Also in the truck were 3 large packages of marijuana. In 2000, it talks about El Evil right here. Allegedly controlled Ventura County for La M. In 2012, from a prison cell outside of the country, Martin Madrigal Casares, known as El Evil, was making himself known on Ventura County streets. Officials declined to disclose where or why Madrigal is serving time. What the hell? At the time of Operation Supernova targeting gangs in the area, he was stated by FBI to be a fugitive in Mexico. It came out the following year that he was serving a life sentence in a Mexican prison, and his defense attorneys argued that extraditing him to the U.S. didn't make sense due to this fact. The Mexican Mafia set up a ruling body, or MESA, for the county to control the gangs and drugs trafficking taxes in the area. El Evil was extorting drug profits from street gangs for the prison-based Mexican Mafia, according to a grand jury indictment. He was so feared that rival gangs cooperated on extortion schemes, drug deals, and violent crimes, according to local law enforcement. Madrigal, who also goes by Alberto, controlled the Ventura County area with a gang member named Edwin Sporty Mora, enforcing his orders on the street level. Sporty would receive a written hit list from Madrigal and be given permission to conduct extortion on behalf of the Mexican Mafia, according to the indictment. This was the first time we have seen a central shot caller call around to different gangs in the county, and he bought them together to commit crimes. A shot caller around to different... And this is kind of interesting. It's really unusual for us to see gangs normally opposing each other. We're going together because the shot caller was at such a high level in the Mexican Mafia, they knew they had to comply. Interesting. Now, the 2012 Operation Wicked Hand and Supernova investigations. The Ventura County operation, dubbed Operation Wicked Hand, started with 2 shootings in Moore Park and a heroin bust at about the same time. It resulted in the seizures of 32 firearms, including 12 handguns, 12 rifles, 6 shotguns, 3 assault rifles, and a MAC-10 with a silencer. Also seized was 36,000 and a quarter pound of heroin. Moore is said to have indicated that a gang member named Little Rudy was going to kick him money by Wednesday, and if he can't make that happen, Moore wanted the fool in the dirt. Wow. The indictment makes it clear authorities had access to text messages and phone calls that gang members made amongst themselves. Sheriff's officials said investigators thwarted several crimes, including 2 planned killings and a drugstore robbery. The 35-count indictment portrayed Madrigal as a powerful leader within the Mexican Mafia. He was one of 27 people named in the indictment, 24 of whom had been arrested at that time. It is the largest indictment in Ventura County history. Charges include conspiring to commit felony assaults, extortion, home invasions, robberies, narcotics trafficking, and other organized criminal activity, all for the benefit of the Mexican Mafia. Following this large bust, Juan Rosas, another gang member of the El Rio gang, stepped up in Moro's role to collect taxes before being arrested himself. As I've always said, there's always someone that's going to fill a role. But Madrigal at the time was in a Mexican prison. He was expected to be extradited to face felony charges in the U.S. His defense attorney at the time, Jay Lederman, said Madrigal is serving a life sentence in Mexico. Extraditing him wouldn't make sense when he would serve up to 20 years in the United States if convicted. Lederman said prosecutor Johann Roth said she didn't know the details of Madrigal's incarceration in Mexico, but the documents have been filed to extradite him. But all this occurred 10 years ago. At the time, El Evo was said to be in the Ceferezo, number 14, in Gomez Palacio in Durango, Mexico. He was supposedly serving a life sentence there. It is not known when he was released and why. It's likely his deportation or extradition to California could take place. Killing of a Rosarito officer. Okay. Rosarito officer Robert Drew Cortez was attacked and killed this week. Cortez, a police officer for the last 6 years, was head of the tourist section. He was off duty. Hold on. Okay, he was off duty, but not on suspension as initially reported by some. He was accompanied by his son when he was shot and killed while driving on Popocatépetl Street in the La Sierra neighborhood. His son was injured but remained in the vehicle and lived. It is possible that this death is related to the capture of 10 men tied to the Mexican Mafia gang, and the weapons seized are currently undergoing ballistic tests to determine that fact. They always assume stuff like that, man. They're pretty much probably trying to find someone to pinpoint the charges on, man, from my assumption and insinuations. We could not say yes, but of course it is an important route to be able to confirm if this could be through the result of ballistic treatment from the forensic laboratory. Interesting, yeah. The last part about the officer, you can't put two and two together like that. I mean, that's a deep, deep insinuation. But, this is just typical, man. What I noticed from this indictment is one thing is that look what was being used: cell phones, text messages, and phone calls, all the way back in 2012. Now, the bigger question is this: how was he released from prison? That's going to be something that the United States are going to be pushing and pursuing to find out. But like we've all said, man, like none of the stuff that happens within any of these particular organizations surprised me, man. And it just the magnitude of what you're seeing is just it's self-evident, man, that people at times, man, no matter how hard you try to give them the sense of direction, man, there's always going to be loose ends. And that's why, like, some of these groups, whether they're organizations, alleged organizations or not, when you're involving more than multiple people, there's always the risk of getting caught up. And a lot of times it's not your actions that's going to get you caught up. It's going to be somebody else's actions. That's why when I see these huge indictments all the time, 24, 50, 70, the first thing I think of is why would these people have so many people that they're dealing with? When you have so many counter components, someone's going to be a breach of security. You know what I'm saying? See, anything that I personally have ever done in my life, I would rather keep my circle small. Therefore, if I fuck up, it's on me, nobody else. And see, that's the thing that how it used to be back in the 80s and 70s and 90s is like your crews were small. You went out there and conducted and had no business, man, and it was you doing it. Once all the changes where they started to involve street level gang members out there to like be involved, it always puts people at risk. Like, look at the first indictment. Cell phones, calls, text messages, they get all that shit. And there's not really too many lines of communication to where you can protect yourself from like being infiltrated, man. He's already doing life in prison, allegedly in Mexico, but he was out somehow. That says a lot, you know what I mean? As we already know, the government over there in Mexico, they're a little bit corrupt, so who knows how long he's been out. You know what I'm saying? But I guarantee you the United States are going to want answers, and they're going to probably try to extradite him. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be some dealings between different diplomats trying to get him back over there, man. But anyways, this is a quick update. This happened about, I think, 3 days ago or 4 days ago. And it's kind of interesting because he was operating so close to the border. He was supposed to be in a prison in Durango, but here he was being arrested in Rosarito. Anyways, this is Flaco Convict's Perspective. A quick update, man. I'm not going to really elaborate too much. The article's pretty much self-evident. Tap in later.